Hey friends and book lovers, welcome back. Today's video, as the title suggests, is a weekly update of my reading where I'll be talking about the books that I have been reading, the books that I have finished, the books that I'm currently reading, and the books that are on the docket to read next after the current reads that I have right now. So this is my first weekly update that I'll be doing for my channel. I'll probably alternate between weekly update sit-down videos like this one and a weekly vlog when I'm up to it. I like the idea of sitting down with y'all and letting you guys know what I finished and what I'm currently reading and what I'm reading next. Maybe you guys can help me on what to read next for weeks when I am not as inspired. I also want to know what you guys are reading and how you guys are doing during the week. So I love that. And so that's what I'm going to be aiming to do with the weekly update videos when I sit down and do them. Don't hold me to them every week because it probably won't come every single week, but I'm going to post that or a weekly vlog as often as I can. So first, I'm going to start off with two books that I finished last week. Last week was the first full week of May, or just the first week of May in general. And I finally finished Black Sun, which I was really hoping to finish in February, to start and finish, but I ended up starting this one right at the end of February and then finishing it the first week of March. So I kind of missed the buddy read in February by a week, but it's okay because it was actually really easy to get through this book. I felt like the writing style lended to it being a quick read, and it was compelling enough that I kept on wanting to read it. So I would knock out a few hundred pages or 100 and so pages every time I would sit down to read it. So it was really great that way. I did feel like it was not as well developed in the world that I would have liked, and it almost felt a little bit fairy tale-ish. Some folks have said that they felt like it was a prologue. I know both Elliot Brooks and Joanna have said it was kind of like a long prologue in a book, but I felt like it was a bit of a fairy tale and we didn't get too much of the world of the magic system explained. It didn't leave off on a huge cliffhanger, but it did leave off in a way where I'm not really sure what happened really or what's gonna happen next. And so I'd be interested to read the next in this series. I think it's gonna be a trilogy. I don't know when the next one is coming out, but this one was good. I really liked the writing style. I really liked some of the characters, and it was a really fun ride. I'm pretty sure I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I'm still kind of letting it marinate in my mind to figure out what the final rating will be. And the next one was a reread. It's just a comfort read. I was really feeling like going back into this world, and I really wanted more of these two main characters and just to visit how they got started and everything like that. So I reread A Court of Mist and Fury. This is probably the most popular and the most loved in the ACOTAR trilogy now series, and it is very good. So I really enjoyed this, and it was really fun to read. Of course, it was a really quick read. Whenever I jump into a Sarah J. Maas book, they're done within a couple of days. So knowing that, I jumped into this, and of course, I was done in a couple days. Even though it was a reread, I still couldn't help myself. But it was fun, it was familiar, it was definitely a comfort read, and of course, this is one that I'll pick up when I feel like I just need a good comfort binge read, and that's exactly what it was for me. On that same path of comfort rereads, I of course picked up the next book in the ACOTAR series, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this one. I finally picked up the physical copies for this series after reading A Court of Silver Flame, so I finally have them to read physically, and I actually really prefer the experience of reading physically a lot more than just on my Kindle. It's been wonderful. So I'm rereading this one, and I should be done probably in the next couple of days. I'm taking this book a little more slowly than A Court of Mist and Fury just because I can, and it just doesn't grab me the same way A Court of Mist and Fury does, but I still really like this one because it is very, very, very action-packed, and a lot actually happens. Even in like 400 pages, a ton happens, and you still have 300 more pages to go at the 400 mark, and those 300 pages are just action filled. So this book is great. I love it for its action. I love it because other characters get to develop a little further, and we get a sense of other relationships that could develop a little further, and of other courts and of other High Lords. So I really appreciate that, and I really do enjoy this. So I'm rereading this one, and I'll probably just end up rereading the entire rest of the series as we go along and just savor these rereads. The next series I'm reading is because the Netflix show is coming out, and I am on the second book in this trilogy, and that is Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. Now, I am only 100 pages away from finishing this. It is, again, a really easy, fluffy YA read, and it's fun. It's great. I enjoyed Shadow and Bone. I read that one in less than a day. It was easy. It was great. I felt like there was a lot of action. This one, so far, it's okay. I felt like the middle of this book is really slow and a lot of mind games and politics and such things, which are not as interesting if there's not action or if there's not anything intriguing happening. Things are very slow burning even between characters, and I don't find that as interesting. The series is fun, but I do wish that it was more fleshed out in terms of world building and explanations of things. I just felt like things are a little too easy and a little too simple, but perhaps that's just because it's a YA series and not because of anything else. Overall, I really do enjoy the author's writing. It's really easy to get through, it's really easy to understand, and it is also still fun and compelling. So despite the pacing issues that I feel like the second one has, it's still fun. I'm still going to probably finish this tonight and then hopefully move on to the last one in the trilogy so that I can get these ones read this month, and then next month I'm planning on reading the Six of Crows duology before the Netflix show comes out, since I've heard that the Netflix show encompasses the trilogy plus the Six of Crows duology, so I kind of want to get all of that read before the Netflix show, and these are books that I want to get read anyway, so this just added a little bit of fire under my butt to get all of it done. So the next one is my boyfriend's favorite, and I'm still reading through this. I think I'm on chapter 3, and that is Homeland by R.A. Salvatore, which is the first book in the Drizzt World series, and this is like a huge series with like trilogies interspersed. This is the first book in the first trilogy, and so far so good. I mean, I'm not sure why I'm surprised, but I really enjoy R.A. Salvatore's writing. I know that he's written other books and other worlds, but I do enjoy his writing style, and so far I'm enjoying this book. It is very dark, it is very violent, but it's still a really fun ride, and I feel compelled to read more. I'm still early on in the story, so we'll see how it goes, but I do plan on reading this entire trilogy since it is his favorite book series, I think, of all time. So still in the middle of this one. And if you guys have read any of the books that I'm currently reading, let me know. I always want to hear thoughts. I do feel like these books are books that have been around for a while, and so everyone has already read them, and I'm just kind of catching up for a few different reasons, but if you read them, let me know what you think of them. I know people have asked me questions about Mal in Siege and Storm, and I'm like, I don't dislike him yet. I don't know if I'm just not at that point of the book. He's kind of whiny and he's a little insecure, but I know that I will eventually dislike him, but I'm still like a sucker for the Darkling, even though he hasn't really been around and he's obviously like not a good person, but I'm still like, oh, I like the bad boys. I don't know why I'm like this, but here we are. I am like this. The other book that I'm currently reading is of no surprise to my friends that have heard me talk about this and will be part of a reading vlog that I'm doing with Joanna that will go live in April. But that is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book, and I believe the series is called Crescent City, and this book is called House of Earth and Blood. So we follow our main character Bryce in this book, and I'm only on chapter 3. I am buddy reading this with Kristen. I will link her Instagram down below. We are both huge Sarah J. Maas fans, so we thought we would buddy read this and see what we think. This is the first in a trilogy that is not complete. This is the only book that's out. I know that the second one's supposed to come out, rumors say November, and then interviews say possibly in a year. So I'll have to reread this one. It is a little info dumpy so far. I find that there's a lot about the world that is laid out in the first few chapters that isn't as seamlessly interwoven into her writing, into her storytelling like it has been with her other series. So I wonder if that's something that will come up later or something that she's using strategically, but so far it's interesting and I'm trying to pace myself. I do plan on finishing this week so that I can start on the next books on my list, but we all know that with Sarah J. Maas, it's just a binge read, and knowing me, I'm going to be so sad when I finish this and the second book isn't out yet, and that's going to physically, painfully hurt me. Let's hope that the second in this trilogy comes out in November and that the third in the trilogy comes out very, very soon after, because apparently this is like one of her best works. And so the books that I'll be reading after I finish these current reads, I think there's a couple of them right now, and of course I'll always add more. These are just weekly updates of things that I think I'm gonna get to. The next one is gonna be The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is a buddy read on both Kate's channel at the Literary Apothecary and Vish's channel, Books with V. So I will link both of them down below if you want to join us. This is the March buddy read, I think, for both of them, and then they're going to do the live show together at the end of the month to discuss the book. And Vish's previous live show with Bookish Mom on the Addie LaRue book was a really fun time, so you guys should all join the live show. So I'll be reading this book. I'm excited. I've had some warnings as to the fact that it's not a super action-packed book, and that is really kind of bookception, which I really enjoy bookception type of books. This is about a boy who goes to a library and is reading a short story and discovers that one of these short stories is about himself, and it's kind of that kind of bookception of a story within a story and finding a story about your life and going into that realm and that trope of books. I don't know too many more details about this one. I do want to keep myself a little bit more blind so that I can let things unfold. I have read part of Night Circus from Erin Morgenstern, and I really did enjoy that. I don't know why I put it down. I will probably finish it this year because I remember the story pretty vividly in my head. And I remember wanting to finish it and then just picking up other books and not really understanding why I ever didn't pick that one up. But I will be picking that one up again so that I can read both her novels. But all that to say that I do really enjoy her writing style, and so I think that I'm going to enjoy this book. I'm not sure that it'll be a 5-star read, but I'm predicting probably a 4-star read for me from this. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to buddy reading this and seeing what everyone else has to say. If you read this book, let me know. I definitely want to hear your thoughts. So far, 2 of my bookish friends have really loved it and think that we're all gonna really love this. So that gives me a lot of hope. And of course, the last book that I'm gonna be talking about is the 3rd in the Grishaverse trilogy, and that is Ruin and Rising. I feel like this trilogy is gonna be really easy to knock out, so I'll probably be able to knock it out this weekend or early next week, but it is the 3rd installment in the trilogy. So hopefully Siege and Storm in the last 100 pages that I have left ramps up a little bit on a cliffhanger, and then I'll be very excited to jump into this one. Of course, the writing is really easy, so the time goes by really quickly when I read this, and it doesn't take me as long. I think YA novels in general don't take me as long to read because the writing styles are just so easy to follow along, whereas adult books can take a little bit longer to read since the writing style and the world building is usually a lot more complex. But like I said earlier, this is very simple in its world and its magic building, but I think things are about to get a little more complicated, so let's hope so. I'm hoping for some more Darkling because we all know I love the bad boys, and yeah, I'm curious to see how the magics are going to intertwine and how the story is going to close off. I know that 6 of Crows is the next installment in the world in terms of like a timeline, and then there's King of Scars, which is after the 6 of Crows duology. So I am excited for all of that. I think if I enjoy this series enough, which I think I'm predicting like a 3-star for this series, which is still a really enjoyable series for me, it's just not like the most amazing thing that I'll reread. I think I'll just read them once and enjoy them and then just know what they're about. But the 6 of Crows duology is supposed to be a 5-star read. It's supposed to make people cry. It's very like emotional. It's very like just, it's so hyped, and so many people have emotional reactions that I'm very excited to read that and hopefully see it incorporated in the Netflix show. So I'm excited. If you guys are reading this or have read this, please let me know. I want to hear opinions on this, and if you've read the other books in this world, again, let me know. I'm curious to see what people think of all of those books versus the original and first trilogy. That is it for my first weekly wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you've read or are reading any of the books that I mentioned, please let me know. If you liked this video, please click the like button, as that does help support my channel and my content. And if you did enjoy this video, check out the rest of my content, and please don't hesitate to subscribe.